is a Bramble Jam podcast.
Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
On today's episode, we are joined once again by one of our personal favorites, Mr. Kristoffer Polaha, to talk about Hallmark, but we have also so many things outside of the Hallmark universe that we want to dig into today with you. But first, thanks for being here.
Hi, Megan. Hi, Wendy.
Hi.
Thank you for having me today.
We do have to talk about Missing the Boat. We just watched it. We just reviewed it. That review drops today in real time. Fans loved it.
We loved it.
We loved it. Like, laughed out
Could you
loud.
imagine if you're like, fans loved it. We, not so much. We got to talk.
I laughed out loud so many times. And I have to tell you, that's not usually, like, I enjoy Hallmark, but the comedy in this was next level, I feel like. And I feel like it tapped into something that we don't see you get the opportunity to do. They're like, we're going to let Kris be the romance guy. And did you feel like that too? Like they let you run a little bit with the comedy?
100%. So McLean Nelson, who directed A Small Town Christmas and who was kind of bold enough to let me play Jimmy Stewart in that movie, like literally called my agent and said, I'll do Small Town Christmas, but the script is wanting. And I'll do it if I can do it as Jimmy Stewart. And he relayed that to Hallmark, and Hallmark relayed that to McLean Nelson. And when the first day I met him, he's like, so are you serious? Like, are you really? And I said, yeah, no, I'm going to do it as Jimmy Stewart. And he's like, you literally, and I was like, yeah, that's what, are you, I mean, he's like, I don't want to not get hired again. And I said, trust me, you'll get hired again. I said, it'll work. Please trust me. And he did trust me. And we had this little thing where he would go, you're like, take it like to 10 on the Jimmy Stewart or take it down a little bit. And so we regulated this, this accent where he was like literally just kind of doing this thing. And so McLean and I very quickly learned to have a shorthand with one another. And when Hallmark greenlit Missing the Boat, he was working on another movie entirely. And it was a very quick turnaround because they knew they wanted to give me a second movie. And so they put it in the pipeline very, very quickly. And McLean knew that he was writing and doing like a rewrite basically for me. And he was like, all right, I'm going to do this in Kris's voice. And so and he said to me, he was like, it was really easy knowing that you were going to be my actor. I had like your voice in my head as I was writing it. And so it was interestingly, I had this kind of tailor-made part with Missing the Boat. And I'm never had the chance to be that broad in any of my work ever, outside of Hallmark or otherwise. Like, I mean, I did a comedy for ABC years ago called Misguided. That was Ashton Kutcher produced it, and Chris Parnell and Judy Greer, and even that was it was funny, but it was very natural.
Chris Parnell, who's in Mimics with you also?
What?
We do our work,
All my
Kris.
friends.
That's so fun. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We were just looking at that. Okay.
Yeah. So it was fun. Like it was and you never know what the Hallmark audience is going to like or if they're not going to like things. And the response was overwhelming. I said to McLean, I was like, dude, my inbox is just getting slammed with
That's
a lot of high praise. And he was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, man, people are digging it. So it's nice to hear that you ladies enjoyed it as well.
Well, it was a nice team. Look, we're big fans of McLean Nelson's work too. I think it came through really strongly in Hall at the Halloween, like those quick comedic takes. You can see his fingerprints on that. And I feel like we have kind of gotten to the point where you can, with some of these directors, start really recognizing their styles and you resonate with some of them. And when we see like McLean Nelson, we're like, I'm in. It's going to be a good time no matter what's going on here. But also with you and Amelia, which we have to admit, we mispronounced her name for the last 5 years of this podcast. So we are.
Are you calling her Emily?
Yeah, we were. So we're
spelled Emily. It's spelled like I have it in my phone, Emilie, and then I have it in parentheses Amelia because I have to always like go. Yeah.
I know we feel terrible, but we are rectifying our wrongs. But the pairing of the two of you just fires. I mean, I said it on Instagram, but I just felt like you both were firing on all cylinders that entire movie. So We loved it.
Awesome.
Loved it.
Thank you.
You did mention that you do, like, the rumor was that you had 2 Hallmark movies coming down the pipeline. There is another one coming this year with you. Is that? No.
So it was Christmas. It was 2. So it was Christmas at the Opry and Missing the Boat.
Got it.
Opry was really great too.
Opry was
We
fantastic.
Loved it.
Yeah, that was a really special movie, specifically for Nikki. I thought that for her to have that full circle moment with her daddy, and I know she's mentioned this before, but the grief of, she worked with Claire Niederbrum, who was McLean Nelson's wife at one point. They're no longer married, but when Nikki worked the first time with Claire, she had found out that her father was, or her father was about to die, and their film wrapped, and the whole time she was kind of on death watch waiting, and then the film wrapped and she was able to fly to Atlanta and be with her daddy bedside when he passed. And so that began this chapter of grief for her. And so then for them to work together again, and at a place where her daddy even said when she was a little girl, he's like, one day you're going to be on that stage. And she was like, Dad, I'm not a singer. I'm not going to be on the Opry. He's like, what? And so then it was almost like it was a God wink. I mean, it was a moment for her, and you could watch her healing. And then for her character to go back in time and reconcile with a fictional father, and for that to be the storyline, which, to be honest with you, I thought that's the part I was going to play when I got the script and the offer. I read it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm playing the dad this time. I was like, that's cool, because my character didn't have a ton of agency, you know what I mean? Like, I was there really just, a boyfriend that really loved the girl, which was a fun role for me to play. But it's a great script. I thought it was a great script, and I thought for Nikki it was a really wonderful real-life moment.
Yeah, I didn't know that backstory
No,
at
me either.
all. And so now it makes the movie experience as a viewer much more rich. And I was so drawn to that story, like as a daughter myself, was so drawn to the father-daughter story in that movie. It was real good, really good.
Especially if you've lost a parent, like what you crave for is one more minute with them, right? Or the person that you love, a child even, or a friend, or whatever, a spouse. You just yearn for one more minute.
I was honestly kind of surprised it did not win the bracket.
Oh, our Girls Gone Hallmark.
Oh, I missed. Hey, let's not even go there.
I mean, sorry to rub salt in the wound. I assumed it would win. I felt like it hit, I mean, obviously it came close. People loved it.
It did all right.
But yeah.
I was surprised too. I think this is the first one in a while that I haven't had a win.
I know.
I also lost the Deck the Hallmark leading male award.
Oh, no.
Happened Christmas. We saw there was a small dip in the Polaha, but you can't have them all the time,
Never.
You got to let someone shine every now and then.
You got to give it to Robert Buckley every once in a while.
Robert Buckley, not Junior. We have a long history with. We have actually no history with Robert Buckley, but we've always called him. He was a junior for a long time.
I was convinced that his name was Robert Buckley Jr. and called him that on the podcast many times. So now we call him Robert Buckley, not Junior.
Yeah, it's Emily Ullerup and Robert Buckley Jr. and Kristoffer Polaha. Robert Buckley and I did something years ago. So do you guys remember Life Unexpected? Did you ever watch Life?
I watched it. Yeah, I watched it last summer, actually.
Yeah, it's fun, right? It's a fun little show.
It is.
So at the same time, I think Robert Buckley was on One Tree Hill, and he and I got to host. I think back on this, and I'm like, what was my life? We got to host the CW's Upfronts, which is this giant presentation that they do to advertisers at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
So we're on a stage at Madison Square Garden, Robert Buckley and I, and we're introducing all of the new shows and Katy Perry. We're like, ladies and gentlemen, bring out Katy Perry. And we're just riffing on stage. And I think back on that moment, I'm like, whoa, that was what was all that? Like, what?
Yeah.
What was that minute? So Robert, he's a good dude.
Nice. I like him. Well, I like him, just if you were wondering. Can we talk about American?
Megan's silence. She's like,
I love, no,
I know. I'm kidding.
big fan. Genuinely big fan.
Let's talk about American Hostage for a second.
Sure, let's.
That's
okay.
a big project that has John Hamm in it, right?
Correct.
I was doing some research last night, and IMDb is a little confusing because it shows that it was a podcast series, it looks like, and then it shows the television series that you guys are doing. And I was trying to figure out, both IMDb's are not complete, so I was like, who is he in this, or are you in this, or what?
Now here's the thing. I am the American hostage. So for me, it was me and Giovanni Ribisi on one set, and then John Hamm and all of the radio station and all of the actors that were involved in the radio station were on a whole nother. And so we had different days, all of it. There are some incredible Winnipeg actors that we had the pleasure to work with. In fact, Lauren Cochran, do you guys know her?
Yeah.
Lauren Cochran, who was in We Wish You a Merry Christmas. She and her husband were also both in American Hostage. Wonderful people, super talented, very funny. No, it's a really intense show. In 1977, a guy named Tony Kuritzis walked into Meridian Mortgage, which is a family-owned mortgage, real estate, and loan. Like they did construction, they bought and sold real estate, and they loaned the mortgages. So they gave out loans. And it was family-owned by the Halls. And Tony Kuritzis walked in with a sling and a gun and is hidden in his little sling, and then held Dick Hall hostage for 63 hours.
Wow.
Raided him through the streets of Indianapolis, got into a cop car, stole a cop car, and then drove to his apartment where he hid inside his apartment with all these, gas, what they thought was nitrous, rigged up in the apartment. And he called the radio station, and he called this guy named Fred Heckman. So John Hamm plays Fred Heckman, Giovanni Ribisi plays Tony Kuritzis, and I played Dick Hall. So I'm the guy who Tony takes hostage. And the whole thing was broadcast live. And they even in 1977, in February of 1977, the little month that I was born, they had the Oscars, and John Wayne was accepting an Oscar speech, and they broke away from the Oscars to go to this live report of this hostage takeover. Now, in history, the thing that's interesting about it is the only other hostage experience that the world had experienced up to this point was in 1972, which is when the terrorists took the entire Israeli Olympics team hostage.
Oh, yeah.
September 5th. In 72. And so what we know about that was that entire team was massacred. So what the world saw was a hostage situation that ended in tragedy, and what the world didn't want to see happen again was Dick Hall die. So they were willing to do whatever it took to keep this guy alive. And so being a part of him being on the radio and him broadcasting it live was one of his requests. And they were like, whatever it takes to keep this guy alive, just keep him talking. So it's a really riveting television show, and the tension and the drama within it. Eileen Myers is the writer, and Sean Ryan he's our showrunner. Just an incredibly well-written 8 episodes of television. So I think you two are gonna. It's intense. Now, if you like intense stuff, you're gonna love it. If you don't,
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a baby, but
I love that
she's
stuff.
tougher than I am, but I'm definitely intrigued by this. Do you know, do they plan to do an episodic drop for this, or a full 8-episode release at once?
I don't know how MGM Plus works. Do you? Have you guys watched anything on MGM Plus?
No, and I feel like some shows are going to kind of this episodic drop because it keeps it in the pop culture conversation longer. You do a 8-episode drop, and it's everyone's hyped about it, but it's kind of nice to draw out the
suspense. Here's the thing.
the old days.
This is, if you want to have a conversation, a real life conversation about the state of the affairs, the state of the union, we are in a critical sort of flux moment with how we tell stories and how we consume stories. Mm-hmm. And for thousands of years, humanity has told stories through oral history and then the written word, and the written word was consumed by people who could read it and then share it with either the congregation or the people, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, people started reading, and you can go to the narrative where it never talked about I, and all of a sudden the individual was the center of the story, and all of these things were progressing and progressing. And then we had movies, and for 100 years we were able to watch people behave, and we were able to absorb stories, and everything dropped. And then the television showed up after radio, which were these longer form stories, and we had this. They call them water cooler moments, but you had this thing where every week people would come together and collectively we would agree on what we liked as a culture and what we disliked as a culture. And we were all kind of on the same page. And even though we might have disagreed politically, or even though we might have had different religions, or even though we might have had different values, there were still these plumb lines in our society that kept track. And the individuals who made those things, like Ernest Hemingway or Charlie Chaplin or Doris Day or whomever you want to put into that, like those individuals that were sort of contributing to the conversation, we remembered them and we cared for them. And now we live in a culture where everything is so disposable and fast. And it's like, I look at social media and I look at the content and I look at all the hours that people are putting into posting and streaming and getting 1 million views, and then we don't remember anything. We're not remembering, and everything is becoming disposable, and we're losing those plumb lines that used to keep us together, and we're becoming really, really fractured. So I think, to your point, Megan, a weekly drop pulls people in.
Yes.
It keeps the conversation going. It allows word of mouth to build. Like Mimics, I have 1 week in theaters to prove my worth, and if we don't make enough money, we're gone. And it's like, how do you build enough steam? How do you keep a conversation going unless you have $1 billion to spend? And I'm not exaggerating. It really is, it's a pay-to-play community in publishing and in movies and in television. And so how do you keep, I just think we're at a really interesting breaking point as a culture. I think that as a culture, we have to decide how we want to continue to educate ourselves about our own humanity through our entertainment.
I mean, that's
Not
really
to go deep. Not to go deep.
No, I mean, it's when you think about it, there was an era of television where like everybody watched MASH. Everybody watched MASH because there were only a few things. And so the things that were made had to be of a certain quality to stick around because there weren't that. Now, it would be very easy for the three of us to have a conversation about the shows we're watching and have no overlap. And because there's just this deluge of content constantly.
Yeah.
And you feel like I got to get through it. I'm missing something if I don't get to the next thing. So I am crossing my fingers for an episodic drop. I like we both love The Pit and the conversation every week because that's one of those shows that,
Yeah.
And isn't it like it's all taking place one
in real time? Yeah. In real time. Yeah. But that's like appointment television. I'm like Thursday night at 6 p.m. That's going to stream. And all of a sudden I'm on my couch.
We were just talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
We come home, whatever we're doing on Thursday night, and watch it.
And it's been years since I've had something like that.
Never. I mean,
I know, isn't it and it feels good to have a It felt good to have. I remember when I first met Julianne, she loved Sex and the City, and Sunday nights on HBO were that was the thing we knew we were going to do. It was like this weird, and I miss that. Like I remember being on, again, Life Unexpected, and I've had, the shows that I've had on television. There was a night where I knew I was going to be on TV, and it was like Tuesday night, North Shore. Like we're going to go watch, this thing that's going to happen. And yeah, those days are gone. I think that's why I enjoy Hallmark, and I like the idea that they have these
stable of actors. Yeah,
it's 131. Like that there's going to be this Kristoffer Polaha movie, and you can. It's nice to have that date. It's nice to look forward to something. I think I love it still.
You mentioned your wife. Where did you two meet?
We met, so I did a show called Third Degree with a guy named Jensen Ackles who had done Days of Our Lives with Julianne. And we shot in New York. I had no business meeting her, but we did 3 days of pickups, 3 days of shooting inserts and looping and all this kind of little tiny detail work for the pilot in Los Angeles. And while I was there, he was like, "Do you want to go out and meet my buddies?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so we went to Casa Vega, which is this very famous.
Yeah.
You guys know Casa Vega?
Yeah.
Casa Vega, baby. We went to this crazy restaurant in the valley, and it was 15 dudes and Julianne like right in the middle of this, and she was holding the biggest, literally, this is my son's decoration that needs to go away because it's still Christmas, but like it's giant like margarita that she was holding like kind of
Bigger than her head.
Yeah, and I remember just thinking like that is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life, and we ended up sitting next to each other, and miraculously I had enough game to keep the conversation going, but was in no place ready to meet the woman that I thought that I was going to marry, let alone. And then to make it even, to compound things, I'm sitting here talking to her and I'm like, she probably drives like a BMW or some little sporty, like she's probably like in LA, she's working, she's on Days of Our Lives, she's like, she's doing her thing. And then we go out and she's going to drive me to Jensen's. We're all going to go to this after party after, at Jensen's house after Casa Vega. And this giant black pickup truck pulls up. And I'm like, oh no, I'm cooked. I'm like, who is this? And we're driving to Jensen's. And I said to her, and I never said anything like this. I said to her, like, I was like so taken back by her. And I was like, there's a world where I could make you my wife, which is the boldest thing I've ever said in my life.
Yeah.
I've never and I never felt that way prior. And I feel badly because I had some girlfriends that were pretty amazing before, but like I just never, was like struck like that. Here's the even crazier thing. I was driving, that was a Wednesday, and I was driving to the airport on Friday to go back to New York to just have my life and be a waiter at the Grange Hall and to see if my pilot was going to get picked up on Fox. Like it was just, I was in this waiting. And Julianne said, do you want to ride to the airport? And I was like, sure, I'd love a couple more minutes with you. I think, yeah, that would be amazing. And we're driving to LAX, and she's like, what are you going back to New York for? And I was like, I'm just going back to wait. And she's like, do you want to stay? And I was like, and I remember this moment of like, literally the words, if you're going to be bold in anything, be bold in love. And I was like, yeah. And so I stayed. Now, it sounds very sort of scandalous, but she was waiting for marriage. So she was a totally different kind of woman than I'd ever really experienced. I didn't know what to experience, but we had this weekend where we just really got to know each other, and then started sort of long distance dating because I went back to New York, and then she came to New York, and then I went to LA, and she came, and then I moved. That was in April 18th of 2001, and then I moved to LA in July of 2001. Like I was like, I think I'm gonna move to LA and pursue and just see where this goes. And I got a little apartment in Burbank, and we dated for another year and a half. And then I popped the question, and 6 months later we were married. So we had like a 2-year courtship. It was fast but slow. It was like, I think you can poop or get off the pot after 2 years. It's like, you kind of know.
Yeah.
You should make that movie.
Poop or get off the pot.
Well, yes, that's what I meant. No, that's your story.
Your story.
Yeah, that's a movie right there. Okay, I know you're dying. We want to talk about mimics. We want to talk about mimics and talk about a departure from, the Hallmark dude that many of us know, right? Can you just tell us the origin story of this movie to start?
You guys want to show a clip? Should we show a clip?
Oh my gosh, can you send us one that I can?
Yeah. Here, I'll send you something real quick while we're
Cool.
talking.
Note for the listeners, the video version of this episode, which is linked in the show notes below, is available on our YouTube channel, does contain that clip that Chris mentioned. So you can head on over to take a look at that. And this episode is available in its entirety on video.
So the question about mimics, to rephrase your question, a little backstory of mimics is this. When the story begins when I was a child. I just told this story to my son Micah, and I've never said this before in an interview, so this is new. This is new information for the world. Micah this morning woke up and he's like, man, I hate waking up in the morning. He's like, I just don't like waking up in the morning. I was like, I know, I get it. And I said, when I was a little kid, like 4 or 5, my mom woke me up and I hated waking up in the morning. And I said, Mommy, what professions are there in the world where I can sleep in? And she thought about it for a minute, and she was like, I guess if you were a Broadway actor, you could sleep in, and then you would go to the theater around like 3, and you'd do your show at night, and you'd stay up late, and you'd sleep in the morning. And I was like, that sounds really good. I think I want to do that. And so before I even knew before I earnestly wanted to be an actor, I remember that conversation and thinking like, acting would be the opportunity to sleep in. I think I want to do that. But filmmaking is not that. And acting on film is not that. You're up at 4 a.m. most of the days, and you don't get a lot of sleep at all. So tricks on me. But the cinematic language is one that I used to always play. Like I sort of do make-believe games in my head, and instead of being a soldier, I'd be a soldier in a movie. Or instead of being a boxer, I would like see the cuts, and I would kind of tell the story cinematically. And then my folks had a VHS camera, and I used to film little movies in camera, and I had to do the shot list, and I had to shoot it in order because there's no way to edit. So I would kind of, tell these. I used to make a lot of little movies, and I wonder where they all went because I haven't seen any. I'd love to find them. I know that Graham's dad had 2 of them that he kept, but I haven't seen them. And it would be fun to go back and watch those and see how bad they are. And then when I was a junior in high school, I saw Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, and what he accomplished felt like a clarion call to all filmmakers that you don't have to wait in line. You don't have to do the studio dance. You can just go do the thing. You can just make the movie. And so very early on, I knew I wanted to make a movie. I wanted to make it in Reno because I'd also seen like what John Waters was doing with Baltimore, and I was thinking like, well, that's cool. And I saw Martin Scorsese and Woody Allen with New York, and I saw, and Steve Martin did a love story in LA to LA Story, and I was thinking, well, that would be like, that Reno would be my city. Like no one's really done it, like no one's really done Reno justice cinematically yet. And so I knew that, and they hadn't still until Mimics. And when you see Mimics, it is a love letter to a city that is, it's a very unexpected city. There's a lot of unexpected beauty in Reno, and there's a lot of heartbreak in Reno. It's a place of hope and desperation, and I think the film captures that pretty nicely. But I wrote a script called The Biggest Little City in 2004 on a yellow legal pad. I did the whole thing by hand. And then over the years, I sort of made it better and would do readings and just tried to get this movie made. But it was so difficult to make this movie. For one, I just wasn't a popular enough actor. I didn't have enough currency as an actor so that investors were kind of like, who are you? It doesn't matter. Even though I had TV shows, even though I'd played Kennedy and I was #1 on North Shore, like I had stuff, like I had fuel in the tank, but it just wasn't enough to, and I didn't really know what I was doing, so I didn't know how much to ask for. I didn't know what it would take to actually make a movie. But then there was a bunch of convergences, things that just started lining up. And one of the major components was Hallmark, and was a conversation I had with Randy Pope. And I said to Randy on a phone call in 2019, I said, Randy, I want to direct and I want to produce. And he's like, well, then do those things. He's like, I can't just hire you as a director because then I'm going to have to hire every actor as a director. And they'll say, well, Kris did it. Like, why can't I do it? And he's like, and if you want to produce, then bring me IP. And IP is intellectual property, right? So a book is IP. This is IP for people. And IP is expensive. But what's not expensive is just writing your own book. Well, Anna Gomez might disagree. There's some cost.
Time has value, sure.
Yeah, but I happen to just, and then I'm a God guy. So anybody who knows me knows I'm a pretty prayerful dude, and so I think God opened up a lot of doors right around that conversation. You know what? The conversation with Randy Pope wasn't 2019. It was earlier. I'm sorry. It was probably around 2016, because what I did with that conversation was I started thinking about like writing romance novels to appeal to a female audience that could be immediately made into movies on Hallmark. And I was like, why don't I go from page to screen? That would be interesting. And then the other thing was like, well, if he wants to see me direct, I got to direct a short film. And I'd always talk this talk of like, just do it, just do the thing, invite yourself to the table. And in fact, I'd encouraged, there was a filmmaker named John Summerhour, who years ago he financed his own movie with a credit card. And the guys who did Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like, we used to have conversations. And back when they couldn't get hired, I was like, you have to do your own thing. And so I was in 3 episodes of, Always Sunny in Los Angeles before it was Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, there was a lot of talk about doing your own thing, but I never did. And there was a combination of reasons. One was time and money, and that combination, I would get a job and I would have a year of my life consumed with the television show, or I just needed to make money and had to, like, I didn't have that luxury of planning, and so all of these things kind of kept me from fulfilling this dream. And then I outgrew the lead character in The Biggest Little City because I wrote it for like a 21-year-old, and I was no longer 21. And all of a sudden I was like, gosh, I outgrew the story I wrote for myself, and was sort of looking for new stuff. So I did a work of art. That was my first directorial thing. It was a short film I did. Started working on the books with Anna Gomez. When we did Moments Like This, I was like, we're going to produce this. We're going to make this into a movie. So I started really looking at producing and trying to, with Mystery 101 coming to a close, I was trying to produce this Orson Holt mystery thing. And so that started conversations with writers, and I started producing. I just started actually producing without making any money. I just started trying to connect dots and bring people together and start, And then the pandemic happened. My buddy Mark Oakley reached out to me. He needed to provide for his family. He was a copywriter. I'd known Mark since first grade. And he kicked me with this weird idea about a dummy and all this kind of like, and I was like, I don't think that's for me, Mark, but it's a good idea. And if you want to see, like, the only way, though, to see if your good idea sticks is if you write the script. And if you're willing to do that for free, like if you're willing to write a spec script, then we have something we can work with. But if not, it's just a great idea. And there's a lot of great ideas. And he, to Mark Oakley's credit, went and wrote a 160-page script. And he just went for free and wrote this script. And then he handed that script to me. This is 2020. And I read it. And I was like, Mark, this is actually, you did a good job. You actually crushed it. And I said, but this is how I would make it better. And I gave him a litany of notes. And he went and he made all the adjustments for free. Kicked me back a second draft. I read it again, another litany of notes. He went and made those adjustments. Third draft, read that one. It was getting tighter. And every bounce back took about 3 months, 3 to 4 months. So I'd give him notes. He'd take about 3 months, and then I'd get a new script, and I'd read it, and it would take me about a week and 2 weeks to give him notes. I'd give him a flood of notes, and then he would go back, and a couple months later, and then I have a friend who worked for The Blacklist. He's a reader for The Blacklist, which, for those of your audience members who may not know, it's this list in Hollywood where agents and studios, if you get on the blacklist, it elevates your script in the eyes of the studio, and it kind of indicates what script should get made into movies. And so it's an honor to be on the blacklist as a writer. And so I said to Jake, I said, hey buddy, will you read this and just see if I'm delusional or if I'm actually sitting on something pretty good? And he read it and he was like, dude, you're actually sitting on something pretty good. I would adjust this, and this. That would make it super tight, but yeah, you got a really tight script. And so Mark, again, for free, made all the adjustments. And then we had this script that was ready to go. And that was about 2023. So it really, the reason I'm rambling is that the story of Mimics has been my whole life. Mm-hmm. It's been 33 years, and it's been 5 years, and it's been 3 years, and it's been all of these sort of, it's just been this big mix and combination of me driving this desire and this dream to tell a story in Reno. And I really didn't, and my son even last night was like, you've never cared what movie it was? And I was like, I never did. I just knew I wanted to film it in Reno, and I knew I just wanted to make a movie. So yeah, and then all the pieces fell together pretty magically. I could go even into further detail, but I'll stop talking.
Well, I got to tell you, the first time I saw the trailer and the dummy, his name is Fergus, is that right?
Fergus, yes.
It unlocked some sort of terror in me, like childhood terror. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if there was like touches of like poltergeist or I don't know. So every time I see like the promos for it, I'm like, that scares me. And I like that stuff too. So I'm very interested. I'm very intrigued. I'm dying to see it, to be honest.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that's the sentiment. It's man, there are things I didn't know when it comes to filmmaking and the business of filmmaking. And what I'm learning is that everything is pay to play. And Disney makes a movie for $100 million, and then they spend $100 million on marketing and advertising. It's called P&A. And the P&A spend is a big deal to people who, like the CEOs of AMC, Regal, and Cinemark, and they want to know that the movie that they're putting in their theaters is going to yield a return. And the only way it does is if people know that it exists and they know to go see that movie. And so for me, I'm very much a grassroots, like we are a super, truly independent feature film with a minute budget. I mean, I made the film for under $1 million and our P&A is under $1 million. And so we are the little engine that could. I just did this, I went on live this morning and was kind of making a plea to my fans where I was like, even if the movie's not playing in your area, just go online and buy a ticket because it helps. Like it really does. It's like a $15 donation to my art.
Yeah.
You can write it off as a contribution to the arts if you need to. But it's like, it really does make a difference. Like ticket sales make all the difference. And here's the win. If we do sell out theaters and if the movie does make money, then that signals to the industry that guys like me and women who are of the same mindset that I am, filmmakers can, outside of all the systems, find a way to continue to tell stories. And I think there's been this complaint that people are tired of the remakes and of the hero. Like people are groaning about the content that's available in cinema, and they're saying the cinematic experience, is waning. And I'm like, well, here's an opportunity to then go to the thing that you want to see. It mimics this, you're right. The dummy, the whole thing. It's a weird story. I told a really weird story. It's a very sort of Lynchian exploration of the supernatural. It's a spooky little love story. It is about a guy who gets an invitation to join an elite society. And the minute he does, things start going, wonderfully well for him. But I do have to say, in the day and age that we're living in, when you look at all of the files that have been recently exposed and the names in the files, it makes one wonder, are there sort of elite secret societies that people get invited to, and when you agree to the rules of the game, things get elevated? And what is the cost? Because there is a cost for everything. And so my movie explores that, and then it gives the antidote. There's a little way to break the contract, and there's that in there too. It's an interesting movie, and I'm really proud of it. And the thing about Mark is that as a writer, he was so generous to allow me to speak into it, to literally open up the draft and like add. There's 2 scenes that are specifically to my life that I put in there, and he was like, dude, he's like, I'm happy that we're making this movie. He's like, this is our baby. I don't feel possessive over it. And I think that attitude of collaboration is key to any fundamental endeavor that's artistic. I think you have to, it has to be the best idea wins, and you can't be greedy about credit, and you have to be generous, in order to make something work. And I think that's what mimics. At the heart of it, you're going to see a really beautiful collaboration of a guy named Ken Carpenter who joined me, a guy named Mark Oakley who joined me, a bunch of people who said yes. Tori Hunter, who was our script supervisor, who Ken and I were working so diligently to get this movie Shades of Violet produced, where she was going to be the director. And, it stalled out momentarily, and we were able to pivot and, do mimics, and she joined that, and she said, you know what, I'm going to put what my needs are and my hopes and desires, and I'm going to come and help you. I mean, so just a lot of people saying yes made it happen. And I'm excited to see, I'm nervous and excited and overwhelmed to see what happens in the box office. And it'll either be, we'll make $20,000 and it'll be like, and it'll kind of be like a wet turd and out we go. Sorry to be so descriptive, but that's what it feel like. Or the box office will surprise us, or there'll be something in between, and it'll be enough fuel to do it again. But that's the goal. The goal is to do this again and again and again. Now that I know how to do it, I'm ready.
Where are you going to be opening night? Are you going to go to the theater and go see it?
Me? So I just bought 2 tickets in Texas. I'm supporting a Texas theater, so I bought my first 2 tickets. I won't be there, but my seats will be sitting there. They'll be there in spirit. I will be in Reno, Nevada for the world premiere.
Nice.
And I just have to say, ladies, I know that there are other actors on Hallmark who have a rabid fan base.
Oh, no, your fans ride hard.
They ride hard. And I mean, I am so grateful to these people.
Yeah.
I have fans coming from all over the world who are going to fly to Reno to be at the world premiere. And I am so overwhelmed by it. Like, I don't even know I don't have words to express my gratitude, but it's one of those things where we had 60 VIP tickets for sale. And I think that my fan base, the majority of those tickets were bought. And then we opened up another 11, so we had 71 total. And they were gone within the first week of the sales. And it was people who were like, yeah, we want the full experience. We want to come and hang out with you. We want to see the movie. And then they're going to, a lot of those women are going to stay in Reno and do a screening Friday night in Reno on the 13th. And so I think I'm going to join that screening. So I'll be there in Reno. So the first time I'll see it in a theater, like an official movie theater, is at the Summit in Reno on the 13th.
That's so fun. And fun for your fans, too, for you to be there. That's so cool.
Right?
You're such a man.
You guys want to come? You guys want to drive? You guys want to drive to Reno?
I'm like, can we go to Reno?
I don't, maybe.
But it comes out on the 13th. I'm going to be in Vegas on the 14th. Can I just drive to Vegas from Reno?
You know what you can do? And I'm not even joking right now. You should, I'm 100% serious. You should come to the premiere, and I'll get you tickets. You can have tickets on me. And,
is the premiere on the 13th? Is that when you're doing it?
No, here's the deal. The premiere's on the 11th. So you come to Reno on the 11th. And
he's opening our calendar.
Do like a special live from the premiere.
Yes.
Hey.
And you'll have all of us. You'll have the whole cast. I'll make sure that we all come and say hi.
I think this is a serious thing we are going to have to discuss.
I mean, even if it's just for the premiere, like just come to the premiere and be there. We're doing it at the Reno. It's called the Pioneer Center, and it's like Reno's. I call it the Carnegie Hall of Reno, and it is. It's like the crown jewel of performing arts in Nevada. And when I was a kid, I was like, one day I'm gonna be on that stage. So that's my like Opry moment. Like
that's amazing.
Yeah.
It was the Pioneer Center. It's right across the street from the courthouse where my dad worked for 52 years. It's a pretty special moment. Like my dad, who, and God bless him, but the doctors gave him, 5 years to live like 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I mean, so he's defying the odds, but he's got congestive heart failure. And so his heart is, not ticking like it used to be. And I just wanted to capture my father on digital celluloid. And he has the last line in the movie. Oh. So he has a character.
That's really
he comes
special.
in and he's got this really cool little beat and he crushes it. Like usually you're like, oh, that guy's not an actor. And he did a whole thing. And then just to see, I don't know, like if you've ever seen Austin Basis's work, to see what he did in this movie is truly remarkable. I'm so proud of him. And he brought something. There's a guy named Kevin Lawson who invented this wild character that it's, all these things they're in for a minute. And then Mariah Smallbone plays the leading lady. And if you love Hallmark movies, there's this incredible bromance at the heart of this kind of spooky story. And she crushes it. And Stephen Tobolowsky. I mean, I'm so proud of my cast. I'm so proud of like watching the actors. I don't know, the whole thing. I could go on and I sound like an idiot because it's like bragging about your kid and nobody wants to hear how great your kid is. But this is a kid you can take part in. This is a kid you can watch.
A collective kid, yeah.
This is a kid you can own. We do have our distribution company has a deal. We're making DVDs, so it'll eventually be available at like Walmart. Like I got the DVD art, looks incredible. I positioned Fergus's face on the DVD, so the hole is like over one of his eyes.
Oh.
It's fun. Like there was, Ken and I made a decision not to try to sell the film to a bigger distributor because we knew that we would lose control of it.
Yeah.
If we just say that A24 or Neon or one of those companies wanted to buy it, they would ask us how much it cost. We would tell them. They might double that, but they probably would have said, we'll give you a little bit more than we'll cover the spread, and then you'll earn, downstream revenue. But then they could have just boxed it and never put it in theaters, and who knows what could have happened to it. Like my hands were off of it at that point. And the way that we did this, I guess that if you were going to compare it to publishing, this would be like self-publishing a book. And we self-produced a movie. Like we just went outside of the system and said, all right, let's see what we can get. And the fact that we're in, 100 and I think we keep upping theater daily. So I think we're at like 130 theaters.
That's amazing.
We're in Peoria. You guys want to hear a full story?
Yes,
of course.
always.
Yeah, I wanted to read you, the age-old question. Are you ready for this? But will it play in Peoria? Yes, confirmed. Willow Knowles, 14. Here's the deal. It's true. The meaning has come to mean, will it play in Middle America? So I think historically it's like, yeah, but will it play in Peoria? Is it broad enough release to to play in the middle of America?
Yeah.
He says, but the true origin is based on Peoria being the liquor capital of America until the late 1900s. Peoria produced so much of the nation's liquor, it actually provided the majority of the U.S. federal tax for many years. Because of all the booze and expendable income, Peoria actually became a huge party town with tons of vaudeville theaters. Instead of being rubes, it was actually the fact that Peoria audiences were so experienced with entertainment that they gained the notoriety. It was a bit like going on the Apollo stage today. Entertainment was expected to be top class to play in Peoria simply because there were so many great options that no one would suffer a low quality show. If Peoria loved you, it meant you had impressed the best audiences in the country. So here to Peoria.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Show up, Illinois. I have a question that you may not know the answer to yet, but talking about the theater landscape these days, you alluded to it. Everything is a remake or a sequel or a new Marvel, right? Like it's based on existing IP a lot of times because it seems like studios are convinced people won't go see other stuff. They're like, if they don't know what it is, they're not going to go see it.
Right.
To me, when I look at what's in the theaters, there's not like, it's nothing like, 20 years ago, I used to go to the movies every weekend. Well, now there's not enough stuff to go to the movies every weekend. And so is your sense that maybe that will play in your favor? Like we have this brand new thing that's people have been asking for. Like, I don't want another Marvel movie, although everyone's going to go see another Marvel. Like, do you think that's going to play in your favor?
I mean, that's my hope. That's my, I bet, that's my, I put my money where my mouth is. Like my hope is that people will say, let's give it a shot. But what I'm learning is the trick is that they have to know that it's there.
That it exists. Yeah.
If I'm not a Hallmark fan and I don't know who Kristoffer Polaha is, and I go to what's playing over the weekend, I'm going to see Wuthering Heights with Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, okay, I know that IP. I know Wuthering Heights. Do I want to see that? It's rated R, so that'll either think I'm going to see naughty bits, or it might be too risque for me. So there's Crime 101. Which is Chris Hemsworth, which is Thor. So you're gonna go, well, Thor's in a new movie. It's Crime 101, and then you're gonna see a guy sitting on a dummy's lap. And I obscured half my face on the poster because to me, I have a funny joke about never being on a poster in all my movies, and so I kind of like to.
Is that the origin of the Missing the Boat movie poster?
No,
you have a book in front of your face.
You have a passport in front of your face.
You have something in front of your face.
Yeah, no. The Hallmark ones are always different. My posters for Hallmark always have my full face, but like Where Hope Grows is a silhouette. It wasn't on the Run the Race poster. Atlas Shrugged was a silhouette. Like for a minute, like all my theatrical, like all these moments where I was like, oh, I'm gonna have my face on a poster. And then even with The Shift, they did this weird thing where it was my face was definitely on the poster on that one, but. No, I just thought it was kind of a funny little nod to
yeah, that's funny.
My ego and the expectation and I was like, let's just bury it. Put the dummy's hand there. But yeah, I mean, I think, and so that's where word of mouth comes from. That's where the currency of like literally telling your friends and neighbors to go see this thing is going to be life for this film. It really is the difference between life or death. And it's like, if there's enough buzz generated so that we do well that first weekend, and it really is a matter of doing great Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, that if we hold, then like even my distributors were like, we'll put more money in the P&A, we'll do a broader push, and so that the following week, and then AMC will be like, okay, this made movies, this made money, so let's push this into more screens. Cinemark passed on Mimics entirely. So Regal said yes, AMC said yes, and Cinemark, we're playing in one Cinemark theater across the entire country, and that's the one in Reno. And they were like, it's just, you guys are it's too small, it's too independent, like not enough P&A behind it, and it's too big of a risk. So, and then I'm just talking how the sausage is made, and I think a lot of people, there's a school of thought where you don't want to talk about this kind of thing because it makes your movies seem sort of small or kind of, like...
I think people love it. I think people I love knowing how things get made.
Yeah, and I'm like you, and I'm like, I would rather know that if I spend money on this particular movie, it's going to have a direct impact on the filmmakers.
Yeah, it's going to matter.
Like, I'm going to do that versus lining Disney's pocket versus lining Warner Brothers and Netflix pocket.
Yeah, Hemsworth is doing all right.
Hemsworth is fine. You got Polaha with his little homegrown movie.
He's got two kids in college, man.
His dad, in the last scene because he couldn't afford another. I'm just kidding. but it really is. We'll see what happens. I mean, and I'm not nervous. There's no anxiety. I couldn't be happier. I talked to Ken Carpenter yesterday. He's like, dude, you sound like you're on top of the world. And I said, Ken, I really am right now. I said, this is I dreamed a dream and I did this thing and I made it. And I'll walk down the street and I'll feel overwhelmed with this sense of like, you did it, dude. I could call it a day and be very content. I'm not going to.
We're glad to hear that. We're glad to hear that.
But I mean, I could literally pack it up and be like, I did what I set out to do. And it's a very cool feeling.
That's exciting. That's so exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we know how much affection you have for Reno growing up there, but Wendy found a fun little tidbit last night.
I need you to confirm. On Wikipedia, it says that you left Reno as a high schooler and went to boarding school in California. Is that accurate?
It's accurate.
Really? Because I was like, I wanted you to tell us what Kris was like as a teenager in Reno. Like, what were you into? What were you passionate about? But
wasn't in Reno.
You weren't there. And I was like, that version of you is probably much different than boarding school version of you, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, Reno Kris, Pebble Beach Kris, right? Those seem like two different people.
Those are two totally different kids.
Wow.
Did you have to change the person you were? What was that boarding school experience like?
Reno, here's what I'm going to say. Reno Kris wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys.
Yeah.
And that's the sad truth of the Reno that I grew up in. Now, the Reno that exists today is very much a Reno that you could conquer the world from. I mean, it's a totally different Reno than when I grew up in. Reno was, we didn't really talk things through. We would just be like, all right, let's go outside and let's let's fight. And so it was like, it was a rough and real town. And the writing on the wall for me was if you stayed in Reno, you were going to stay in Reno. Like you were going to do the thing where you just do what your dad did or work in one of the casinos or whatever that was. There was an itineration of just sort of staying put. And I just did. I had these bigger dreams. And a lot of credit in my life goes to this kid I grew up with named Graham Smith. His name is Graham Lipsmith now. But Graham and I were best friends. And his mother was raised in New England, I think Rhode Island. And her whole mentality was very English in that, like, if she could send her kids away to school at the age of 9, she would have, right? But, like, high school was definitely, you send your kids away to boarding school. So there was Graham's older brother, a guy named Stu Smith, who went to Stevenson. And he was kind of a bad kid at the time. Like he was like up to some, like he was bored because he was hyper intelligent. And so his getting sent to boarding school was like what you would think. Like right. you were up to no good. And so you had to go but Graham and I had a different plan. And in 5th grade, he was like, I'm going to go. And he went to Exeter Academy in New Hampshire. And I was going to go to, and I looked at Choate and I looked at Groton and I looked at all these these New England boarding schools because Dead Poet Society. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, of course.
When I saw that movie, and I was like, man, that's the life. And I told my parents in 5th grade I was going to go away to boarding school, and they kind of just were like, okay, whatever. And then I convinced my mom, that I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon. Like I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, and it was going to be an orthopedic surgeon, and I was going to go to boarding school and then get into Stanford Medical School and then come back and open up an orthopedic clinic in Reno. And I had a whole plan. And she was like, okay, I can get you.
Yeah.
And she's like, the only boarding schools you can go to though are in California. Like you can't go anywhere else. Like you can't go back east. It's too far away. And I was like, deal. So there were 3 schools in California, Kate, Thatcher, and Stevenson. I applied to all 3. And I remember my dad was walking around the Stevenson campus, and it was the one where he was like, this is nice. Like, and I could see him kind of, all of a sudden, he just did the thing where he was like, I've worked really hard. His father was a steel worker at Bethlehem Steel. So my grandfather made steel for like the Golden Gate Bridge and for New York skyline, and he poured steel in Pennsylvania his whole life. He was an immigrant, and he came to this country with 16 siblings, met an Irish girl, and she had my grandmother, Justine Lanchi. She had 15 siblings, like immigrants. Like we were the white immigrants that flooded the New England, and were not either, and the Slovaks and the Irish were not appreciated, and so they kind of lived in this one specific area. And my dad's whole goal was to sort of leave that station behind and make a better life for himself, to honor his parents. I think ultimately he wanted to improve his lot in life so that he could honor the work that his father did and then make a better life for his kids. And I saw that, and I was like, well, I want to do that too. Like, I think you've worked really hard, and I want to. So that when I called freshman year, after having done a play, and was like, I know what I want to do. And they were like, what? I'm going to be an actor, Ma. I'm going to be an actor, Dad. Wow. There was like silence on the other end.
Oh, no.
But
they're like, what did we do?
What do you mean, Mr. Orthopedic Surgeon?
Yeah, no, it was very much like my dad is brilliant. He read, he was constantly reading, constantly learning. I would argue that he's a polymath. Like he just knew a lot about a lot. And so that's something that I've tried to be in my life, where so high school, I was a full-on nerd. I mean, I was after good grades, and then when I got involved in theater, I was like a theater nerd. I mean,
big change from Reno Kris at that point.
Yeah, because Reno Kris was. I just think that I don't know what I would have done in Reno. I really don't. My brothers went to Reno. I would have gone to Reno High.
And gotten beaten up for being a theater kid.
I don't think I would have been a theater kid.
Yeah.
I just don't think the opportunities would have. The only reason I'm in theater, here's this story, and I'll tell you guys real quick. I've said this before. The only reason I did theater was because there was a guy named Hamish Tyler. And Hamish used to be the football coach and the baseball coach, and they gave him a theater program, and he started a radio, so KSPB radio, which still exists to this day, broadcast all through Salinas Valley. It's this incredible student-run radio station, and a theater program where he did 4 fully produced plays a year, and then a series of short one-acts written by seniors that we would all like. So we would do we were constantly working. And he opened it up to the Monterey, Pebble Beach, Pacific Grove, and Carmel communities. The newspapers would come and review us. It was a 500-person seat audience. So it was like being in a theater company. And I had a roommate named Jake Himes, this really sweet Jewish kid. And there was another kid who would come into our room and antagonize Jake, like anti-Semitic, literally throw water on him while he was sleeping at night. He was not a good kid. And one day he came into our room, and I had enough, and Reno came out. And I could have whooped his ass. I mean, physically, I was bigger than he was, and I was used to fighting. I had 3 older brothers. I remember jumping on this one kid when in line in 6th grade. My friend Graham was getting bullied, and I leapt on this kid and took him to the ground, hand on the throat. That was always my move. Like, right, I'd hit the throat. It was like there was a little bit of unhinged thing, and instead of beating this kid up because I knew I would get expelled, I picked up a broomstick. And I smashed out the windows of my dorm windows, and they were like the little panes. So it was like 12 panes per frame, and I knocked out the glass on all these windows. And then I said, get out of the room, get out of here. And like I scared the kid off. And I look out the window and all these seniors who were sitting on the lawn outside the dorm were just like staring at me. And I was like, oh shit. Like I've just gotten myself expelled for just, destroying school property. So I start crying. I go to the nurse. She sees my face. She says, take the rest of the day off. They used to call me Jesus freak because I had all these posters on my wall and like a little crucifix and a prayer taped on my wall. And I was like praying. I was like, Lord, you told me to turn the other cheek, and I'm trying to turn the other cheek, and I don't know what to do, and I just don't know what to do. And I was overwhelmed with the sense of like, just go and tell the head of the school, the dean, like the dean of students, like what you did. So this guy named Mr. Henderson, and I walked into his office, and this is like December of my freshman year. I'm 14 years old. I'm a little kid. And I'm like, I'm not doing okay. And he said, what's wrong? And I said, I'm just not doing well here. And I'm really sad and I'm frustrated. And I didn't want to tell on this kid because then it was going to open up like a whole, like he's hazing and the whole thing. I was like, it's not. So for whatever reason, I didn't say, this kid's picking on my roommate. I tried to protect him. I broke windows in order to, instead of beating him up, I just said, I'm not doing well. And he said, well, what's your GPA? And he went up and looked it up real quick, and it was like a 2 something. And he's like, okay, first goal, you got to set some goals. Like, let's aim for a 3-4, okay? Get all these grades up. And then what are you doing after school? And I said, nothing. And he looked up at the schedule, and he's like, okay, there's an audition for a play, and there's tryouts for a basketball team. He's like, why don't you go try out for both and see what happens? And I was like, okay. And so I tried out for the freshman basketball team. And mind you, I'm like 6'1" at the time. I'm still tall. And I got cut after the second round of tryouts. But literally on the same day of the first basketball tryout, I tried out for the play. And it was this student, it was going to be a student-directed play by this guy named Kristoffer Polaha. And I got the play. And I didn't get the basketball team. So all of a sudden, I was a part of this thing that ended up not happening. The play didn't end up happening, which is the weirdest thing. I got cast. We did a couple rehearsals. And then I don't know what happened to Chris. He got distracted. He didn't get the college he wanted to. I don't know what happened. But it led to another audition for Streetcar Named Desire, which I did get, which was, the school was producing that one. And it was the first play I was ever a part of. And it changed my life, just the community, the feeling. And I remember being on stage and doing my thing, and afterwards, this kid that was like kind of hazing me, like an older kid, his name was Brett. He walked up and he was like, "It was pretty good, man. You're pretty good." And he left me alone after that. And girls, all of a sudden, like I wasn't like the guy that girls, were swooning over, and all of a sudden, girls like came up after the play and they were like, hey, and like it just changed my life, like all of a sudden. And it became that thing where the community, that felt right, the play, like I was good at it. So like had I been a football player and I was the quarterback and good at football, this was that version. And it made me a better student. Like it made me a better, all of a sudden I learned how, like my work ethic, like I learned how to work. Yeah, it was a cool experience. So I owe Stevenson and Hamish Tyler in particular, like my whole life, my whole career.
I'm so impressed that you remember all these names of all these people.
I know.
That's so thoughtful. Like I can't remember somebody I met yesterday.
No.
You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's just because I'm an old lady, but like you pull these
I'm
names.
probably older than you are, by the way.
I don't think so. Not according to the internet. So anyway, it's so impressive that I can't believe you remember all these.
Yeah.
You give them such credit too. Like that's
they
so
did.
nice.
I mean, they really did speak into my life. I mean, there are a few moments I can point back to, and when somebody said something, or where there was just a moment of, where you're given a chance to run with the ball, and it's a rare thing when it happens, and so, and that's what I mean. My whole life, like I've tried to give back time and time again as often as I can because I just think it's imperative. You have to.
Yeah. Something you said earlier has really stuck with me. I think you said invite yourself to the table. Was that it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Megan and I are going through some like businessy stuff here that we won't
I thought
get
the
into.
exact same thing when he
But I was
said
like,
it.
I'm writing that down as soon as this is over, and I'm putting that up on my a vision board.
Yeah.
Invite yourself to the table. I love that.
Yeah, that's 2026 for us over here. So that was really profound. Mm-hmm.
You have to.
Gosh.
I feel like there's a mentality in and for some reason, particularly in the arts, where young people feel like they have to be invited to the table by somebody else, where there's a gatekeeper that's going to open a door and say, walk in, have a seat. And we see it and we go, well, wow, it's happening for so-and-so, or did it for, this is what I'm seeing. But the truth of the matter is, when you really start to like look under the hood of most people's careers, they took the bull by the horn and they just said, I'm doing this thing, and I don't give a shit who says no or who says yes. I'm doing it. And it might cost me. I might make no money at first. But I'm doing this thing because, and I also think you have to have a story to tell. I don't think that fame, if your goal is like, for artists, if your goal is to be rich and famous, you're going to run out on empty pretty quick. Yeah. Because it's just, fame is fleeting, and so is your money. It spends as quick as you make it. And literally, like, you have to just want to tell stories, and you have to want to communicate with the other human beings. And it's an act of service. It's like being a waiter. And there are really great waiters who make you feel seen and make you feel really taken care of and serve good hot food. And same thing with entertainers. Like, there are entertainers who will make you feel seen by their stories and will make you feel included in a community and will be like, oh, I'm a part of, this is my generation. Like, here's what I want to do. When you and I, when we are old as the hills, I want to be the kind of guy where where my generation looks back and says, and I've heard stories about Jimmy Stewart. He had such a profound impact on me, where I just heard people talk about who he was and loved his movies. And like, yeah, I would see him at church and his marriage and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, I just want to be your friendly neighborhood actor. Kind of, you know what I mean? Where it's like that thing where my movies are important enough to people that I get to make a living, but then I'm also in the world and I'm talking to, like, where there's just, that's the thing that turns me on. I think that's cool. And the fact that we're all in this together and that there's a long game is a lot more interesting than anything that can happen very quickly.
Look, this has been incredible, as it always is. We could talk to you forever, as you know. Our calendars are quite clear. But we will, of course, include links to everything, everywhere, Mimics tickets, all the theaters where you can find it, information about everything you're doing. Our review of Missing the Boat just came out. I would highly recommend that Hallmark fans, of course, check that out. You can follow Kris. Instagram, is that the best place to keep up with you?
It's really the only place I dabble. It's really, there's a Twitter one that I rarely go to. Facebook, I rarely go to.
Yeah.
And can I really quickly do a quick shout out?
Please.
I do not reach out. There are a group of fans that DM me. So there's a few people that have established contact with me on Instagram. And I'm shifting towards complete transparency. So the only way I'm going to start communicating on Instagram is through the comment section, so that everything is
public.
Because there are people who are getting scammed, and it's getting like an intensity. It revved up a bit ago, and I'm sure it's still going on, where people think they're communicating with me and they're not. And don't ever give information or money or anything to anybody online. I'm not going to ask for your money. Like, I'm going to ask you to go buy a ticket. There's an exchange there, and it has nothing to do with that. Then go buy a T-shirt, because I want support. And there is transactional things happening, but it's always through a thing that's not directly to me, ever, 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 ever. And none of your actors on Hallmark. Or any actors. I mean, there's a real creep happening right now. And I think, especially with AI and with, they can almost send a bot that will simulate talking patterns. And so it's really scary. So just buyer beware,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's an important message. I mean, it's happening on such a large scale. The number of Tyler Hines that try and join our Facebook group on the daily, right? And that's such a little thing. But yeah, if you think you're talking in the DMs to a Hallmark actor, you probably are not, especially if they're asking you for something. Well, thank you so much for your time, for your insight, for your words. We're so excited for Mimics, American Hostage. We're going to shout it from the rooftops, Kris.
Thank you. I mean, it helps. It really does. And if you go to mimics.com, it's the website. Mimicsmovie.com, I believe, is the website for the film. And it lists every city, every theater. It's an easy to use. And then, of course, Fandango. And zip codes are, I guess, give you like a 30-mile radius. So it's easy to do. You just have to do the work a little bit. But yeah, I'm super grateful. And thank you, ladies, for always. I enjoy talking to you guys.
Same.
I'll never forget running into you on that cruise. And it's just like,
it was an absolute highlight.
It was a highlight, but I'm just like, oh, it just hurts. And because I was like fangirling so hard. And
and Kris hates having fans, I'm sure. That was a real rough moment for him.
Always so awkward.
Someone's excited to see
you,
him.
Megan, I was like, what did I call you? I called you like an
something
ice
about your
princess.
hair.
Yeah.
It was really,
It was a memorable moment for me too.
I just remembered that. But yeah, no, Wendy, that's probably part of why I enjoyed the moment so much. So I appreciate it.
I just shared, because we took a picture that day, I just shared it in our newsletter. And I was like,
we did a whole Polaha retrospective in our newsletter this week because of missing the boat. So yeah. Well, look, thank you so much. Thank you to the listeners for listening to this episode. Please check out everything Kris is working on in our show notes and over on Instagram. And we'll be back next time with more Hallmark reviews. Goodbye.
bye.
Bye.
All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.